right, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whatever time it is when you hear this message, I pray that you're poised to receive, to accept, and to respond to words of wisdom. Ashe. I just heard the most fascinating story about Tito Jackson. May he rest in eternal peace. And it was that Tito Jackson was the impetus for the creation of the Jackson 5, which, as we know, launched the career of Michael Jackson. May he also rest in peace. And the abbreviated version of the story is that Tito Jackson playing Joe Jackson's guitar, Joe Jackson, his father, and he broke the string. And as a punishment, Joe Jackson told him that he needed to learn to play every song on the radio, which Tito did. And Joe was so impressed that he ended up formulating the Jackson 5 with the other brothers. And of course, we know that that launched the career of Michael Jackson. But when you think about over time, decades and decades later, Tito pretty much maintained the same position, right? He didn't become a phenomenal guitarist like Jimi Hendrix or something like that. But he occupied that space as the guitar player, the bass player in the Jackson 5. And that has solidified him, in pop music legacy, right? He's become legendary as a result of what he does. But he's a one-trick pony, right? And so when we talk about being a one-trick pony, it's usually in a disparaging way. That was how I was introduced to it anyway. Someone I used to work with was like, hey, Femi, don't be a one-trick pony, man. You're going to have to diversify your skills. And I think about this because I have always encouraged people to diversify their skills, to continue to grow and to expand. And actually, in today's devotion, Ogun gave us an advisory about the same kind of a thing. Egbe gave us an advisory around this same thing, which was, you don't overstate or over rely upon a single blessing. Okay. The marketplace is where you make a profit, but no matter how profitable the marketplace is, you're not going to live there, right? And so you're gonna have to keep moving. You're gonna have to keep coming and going. And so it's a metaphor for maintaining flexibility and being able to keep growing and positioning yourself for maximum impact, maximum growth, right? And so at the same time, however, I do respect that there is value in understanding your limitations, respecting your limitations. And quite honestly, based on what I know about people and what having trained people and taught people for decades now, most people are one-trick pony. Most people are one-trick pony. And this is why I really emphasize so strongly, you need to know what your natural gifts and talents are and optimize them. It doesn't do you any good to try and do and be something that you're not really destined to be. Don't set yourself up for failure. Don't frustrate yourself with trying to force a square peg into a round hole. Be true to yourself, which means for most of us being a one-trick pony. The key is, where do you do that trick? You have all the freedom to decide where you do what you do. And the smart thing to do in the long run is to do what you do in the place that's going to give you, ascending returns and create increasing opportunities for you over time. That may mean sacrificing the immediate comfort. It might mean sacrificing the immediate fame, the immediate glory, that immediate, instant gratification in order to get that long-term benefit. So when you look at someone like Tito Jackson, yeah, Tito, maybe at the age of 20 or 25, may have wanted to be the headliner. He's watching his little brother steal the show coast to coast and around the world. And he says, hey, I started all this. I'm not going to be the back seat to my little brother. I'm going to create my own band. That would have been a foolish thing for Tito Jackson to do. We wouldn't be knowing his name today, right? So Tito had to take the short-term sacrifice or compromise in order to get long-term benefits, because I'm sure that Tito Jackson was well paid just from the royalties of being a part of the Jackson 5, right? So for a lot of folks, you may be frustrated by what appear to be the short-term sacrifices that you have to make to align yourself with a greater organization, a greater institution, a greater, more prominent individual. But in the long run, you stand to gain far more than you would have gained from being the headliner in your own little tiny world, right? Another example that comes to mind is also from the music industry. James Brown and Bobby Bird. We know James Brown, no matter what age you are, I'm sure you are familiar with get on up, get up, get on up, get up, stay on the scene, get up like a sex machine, get up. That guy who's get up, get on up, that's Bobby Bird. That's Bobby Bird. Now, Bobby Bird, that the band that they're in and all that used to be Bobby Bird's band. Bobby Bird was the lead singer in the band, and James Brown just came in to fill in, and he needed some support. If I remember the story correctly, James Brown even lived at Bobby Bird's house. Bobby Bird was floating James Brown's whole life, basically, but James Brown had the vision, had the charisma, had the energy, and he had the leadership, and he rearranged everything and ended up taking over the band. Bobby Bird could have walked away from it all and said, I'm going to create my own band, but that would have been a foolish thing to do. Bobby Bird would not have reached anywhere near the level of notoriety and fame that he did as James Brown's, counterman. So there's on and on examples of people who had to forego a short-term benefit, a short-term fame, in order to enjoy long-term legendary status, or just a long-term opportunity that continues to increase over time. In life, in a very simple way, the things that I have seen as an educator, as a trainer, as a professional, are that, you might be 50 years old, you might be 60 years old, and you haven't had an illustrious career, and you don't have a network of wealthy people, and you don't have money stashed away, and you don't have these valuable investments or assets that you can liquidate. And it looks like, for all intents and purposes, you're going to rent your apartment or your house for the rest of your life. Okay, well, you're a one-trick pony. There's nothing that you're going to be able to dig into your pocket and then come up with some kind of a skill or some kind of an asset that's going to now grant you all these other opportunities. It's not a death sentence. It's not condemnation. It's just now you need to be really prudent about where are you going to place yourself? Where are you going to position yourself so that over time you continue to get benefits? Really, especially as you move into your golden years, how are you going to create long-term benefits for yourself? Well, you're going to find a place to rent and live where the amenities are best. You're going to find a place to live where your rent keeps you in an environment where the crime is low, where the grocery stores are abundant, where you're in walking distance of laundry facilities, supermarket, etc., as opposed to, I don't know, picking a place that may be downtown where, you're going to be highly seen. Everybody's just going to be knowing your name, and you're going to be like slapping high fives with everybody on every corner. And, that's comfortable because it's maybe familiar. But practically speaking, in the long term, where do I want to be? Where is it more likely that I'm going to have a quality of life that is going to improve, or at least not be high risk? Right? That's just an example of really understanding and reconciling what you may want to do, how you may want to do things, with the fact that there are limitations that are on you that you can't escape. You're a one-trick pony. And most of us are one-trick ponies, right? Most of us are one-trick ponies. When you're not a one-trick pony, then you have a greater capacity to reinvent yourself. When I say reinvent yourself, I don't mean moving furniture around on the deck of the Titanic. I mean really changing frequencies and being able to go into an entirely different mode of operation. But in order to do that, you would have had to acquire some kinds of skills, assets, relationships, resources long before the moment of change is upon you. Right? You would have had to cultivate this spectrum of abilities and skills and knowledge, which would allow you to move onto a different track without downgrading, right? So a lot of people will mistake a downgrade, right? You go from, like, some people don't want to be a big fish in a small pond, is what I'm saying. Oh, you couldn't make it in this big pond, so you go to a small pond where it looks like you're doing more, but really you've downgraded and you've diminished your capacity to actually accomplish anything. You're stuck now. You can never flourish. You can never even enjoy all the opportunities and the possibilities because you chose that short-term comfort, and it's compromised your ability to have long-term progress and expansion. And so this is very, 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 very integral to everyone who wants to lead. Because as a leader, you can only lead people where you are willing to go yourself. And if you're not willing to go into the absolute certainty of who you are and what your limitations are, then the only thing you're ever going to be able to help other people do is follow pipe dreams and put themselves at greater and greater and greater risk to accomplish lesser and lesser and lesser outcomes. So I'm looking at the leaders who have a very pragmatic understanding of what it means to live the medicine that will heal your life and heal the lives of those who you're destined to serve. If you're one of those people, I want you to find out how Obafemi Origunwa and the Orisha Lifestyle Academy can help you take your practice, your one-trick pony practice, to the highest level possible, position it in the best location possible, and help bring about the good condition for yourself and those who you're destined to serve. I look forward to working with you. Bye for now. Odabo.